I made the book because there's a lot of guys out there who don't have options in their dating life. So a lot of guys don't really know how to date or how to get what they want in their dating life, so they basically just take what they want, take what they can get, because a lot of guys basically don't know how to get, you know, a quality girl. So the basis of the book is to teach guys how to have options. So if they decide to stick with one girl, they're actually sticking with a girl who they feel like they chose to be with, because a lot of guys are with women who they're not really, you know, that's not their first choice. It's just whoever would have them. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yes. So, okay, you know, the title is a totally different. It gives us a different view. It, you know, how to have sex with two women a day. That's a big challenge. As I was saying earlier, a lot of men wouldn't even have the stamina after work and everything to go and lay two women. It would just be too much work.
Actually, it's not really even that much work. It's more about, like, if a dude wants to do that, like, he can make it happen. It's more about, like, him, you know, understanding, like, how he's able to really make that happen, and it's not really difficult. It's more about having a team. So basically what a team is a group of women that you have that, you know, that are interested in you, that you date and you see. Because what a lot of women don't understand is that men are we're different than women. Like, there are certain things that, you know, men and women are similar on, but there are a lot of things that we're different on, and a lot of ways that we express ourselves differently. So guys, they usually go through a stage where they want to be, you know, with a whole bunch of different women. They want to date different women. They want to have sex with different women. And a lot of times when guys don't go through this stage, when they get older, you understand, they feel like they missed out on something. They feel like, you know, they haven't really properly went through that stage. So that's why you have those guys who, you know, in their 30s and 40s who are married and who feel like they have this desire to sleep with other women because they never really had that chance when they were younger. And a lot of times guys, when they're younger, you know, they don't have the skill to get women, and so when they're older, they end up, you know, cheating on their women because they never had the experience to do it from before. You know what I'm saying? So this book is trying to get guys when they're in their 20s at that stage, when they're in that player stage, to teach them how to do it. So if they do decide, like I said before, if they do decide to get with one woman, they're already past all the, I need to go around and be with this girl and be with that girl. So the funny part is that a lot of women, when they hear this book, they get like offended. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, in reality, it actually works out for women also if they are choosing a guy who's already been through that stage. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's really like the basis.
All right. My co-host definitely has something to say about that. I'm going to go ahead and let her, and we're going to take a call from a caller that's online.
Yeah, I understand the premise of the book, but even though you're after a certain segment, an age group in their 20s, because there's so much venereal disease and these viruses that are out there, aren't you encouraging something that's going to set the man up so that in the future he won't have a future?
Of course not. I'm not saying go out there and have sex unprotected. You know what I mean? The thing is, people are going to have sex. People are having sex as we speak right now. There's women out here who are dating guys who are dating other women, and there's other, you know, women who are dating other men. Like, people are dating around and doing all these things. It's just that, you know, a person has to be responsible for what they do. Like myself, I've dated and I've slept with, like, I think I stopped counting after like 100, but I've never had an STD. I've never, you know, gotten any girl pregnant. You know what I mean? And it's because I was doing it the right way. So in the book, I also explain that as, like, you know, you have to do it the right way. You don't want to go out there and, you know, catch something. And the thing is, and especially with sex, the thing is, I don't want people to look at sex as like a bad thing. As soon as you talk about sex, people usually turn to the negative. It's like, okay, well, sex, you're going to get a disease. You're going to catch this. You're going to catch that. You understand? But nobody talks about, you know, the benefits of sex, or, you know, that sex is like an antidepressant, and sex can cure colds and all this other stuff. No one really gets into that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, every time we talk about it, we talk about the negative, and of course the negative is there, but it's also, you have to, you know, be able to say, okay, how do I do this and do it correctly? Because no matter what you say, people are going to have sex, and guys are going to want to have sex. And the reason why I wrote this book was because I have a book before this called The Magnificent 10 Crucial Dating Tips for Men, and the How to Have Sex with Women in the Day was actually my second book. It's called The Magnificent 10.
Can you repeat the name of that book one more time?
Oh, The Magnificent It's called The Magnificent 10 Crucial Dating Tips for Men. And that was my first book. Yeah. And
Interesting.
And what happened with that was, it was because, once I put that out, I was getting a lot of, emails from guys. So what I did was I asked guys, what do they want me to write about next? And most of the guys were saying, I want to learn how to have more sex with more women. So the book basically is just like a byproduct of what guys already want. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even me trying to encourage guys to do it. This is what they wanted anyway.
Right. I know. I can understand your point of view, but the HPV virus, which is out there now, it's skin-to-skin contact. It doesn't matter whether you wear a rubber or not. There's just different viruses that are out there that are a little bit more dangerous. So when you're encouraging a man to have sex with two women at once, or how to be a player, or how to be a pimp, you're not really encouraging him to have a serious relationship. And there are guys that are in their 20s and 30s that have fantastic marriages, much less relationships. I don't believe that the more volume, if you sleep with 100 women, that is the predicator that's going to make you a good husband or good in a relationship. You were just running through women. That's what it sounds like to me. So it sounds like these guys can get really confused because a lot of men have trouble with differentiating that sexual desire and that love. And how do you tell the difference? This man's possibly sleeping with two, if he listens to your book and what you prescribe, he's sleeping with two women a day. He can catch this virus. If you watch the Dr. Oz show, they were talking about it yesterday, that it's skin-to-skin contact. I'm just saying in these days and times, things have changed, so you can't just give people information and knowledge like that without there are consequences to it. And then also, if you're telling this to 20-year-olds, you have to understand there are so many rapes that happen every day to young ladies and women. So it doesn't sound like you're giving us the right message.
Are you by chance are you doing any seminars at any schools or doing anything like that to kind of back up what you're writing?
I'm actually gonna be speaking at a number of different colleges in probably like the springtime. But I want to answer the question what you were just saying. First of all, I don't teach anyone how to be a pimp. That's a whole other thing. but when we're talking about HPV and everything like that, I'm not saying that I understand those things exist, but you got to also understand that no matter what exists out there, people are still going to do what they want to do. So the thing that
you're telling them to do two women at once. So it's a multiplication that you're doing here. If you're encouraging them, I can understand you saying sleep with one woman a day. That's enough. Why two women a day?
This is exactly. I'm going to explain it to you. See, you're saying why not just sleep with one woman? See, you're coming from a female perspective. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're saying that, these guys are going to be confused and they're not going to, they're confusing the sex with the love and everything like that. See, for a man, we learn about ourselves, when it comes to dating and, how we want to be with a certain woman through this type of dating. You understand what I'm saying? Like, guys have a desire to do this. So, of course, there's, like you were saying, there's HPV and all these other things to look out for. We understand that. But at the same time, if a person is going to do it, you got to say, well, do it, in a way to the best of your ability to protect yourself, make sure you're safe. Because no matter what, you got sex with one girl and catch that. You could have sex with 20 girls and catch nothing. You understand? So having sex within itself anyway, it's still a risk whenever. So it's like it's either you have sex or you don't have sex at all. You understand? So people are going to do it anyway. So what I'm providing is a way for people to do it, which is safe, you understand, and teaching them how to do it. So the thing is, what I was saying again is that guys want to do this thing. This is not something like I created and I made up and, and I'm having like a campaign for it. This is what the people said they wanted, to know how to do. You see what I'm saying? So that's what
we did have some men callers that had given us a call that was going to give us some insight. Please call us back. We do apologize. The lines were blowing, and but we were talking with our guest so we could get you some more information about his book. So please give us a call back or hit us back on the chat. His name of his book is How to Have Sex with Two Women a Day. And I would like to get some feedback from some men on their feeling about that in their regular everyday lives. So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Locario, so with what you've written, okay, I was wondering, how did your mother feel about the title maybe so much? Did she comment on that, or is she available to, did she say anything about it?
Oh, yeah, my mom loves that book. She loves the fact that I wrote a book. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, so my mother loves that book.
Your mother loves that book?
Yeah, she loves it. She loves the fact that I wrote the book because it's the thing. It's the thing. You see, this is the misconception that people have to, like, realize or get out their mind is that, see, when you first hear the book, How to Have Sex with 2 Women a Day, a lot of people think of manipulation. A lot of people think of, reckless sex and all this other stuff. And the book is basically taking something that's happening or already, or taking something that people want to do and showing them a direction on how to get it done. You understand? Because I coach men and I coach women, and 90-some% of the guys who I coach, they're always asking me, how do I have more sex with more women? I want to have more women. I want to have more sex. So this is what I'm teaching them, like, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you be honest to a woman so she doesn't feel like she's being, manipulated or used. So you let her know, like, what your intentions are. You know what I mean? So it's all based from honesty and integrity and not really up there, but as soon as I know when people hear it, they're going to have those little, things in their head. And this is why I even named it that, because, it's something that's going to grab attention. You know what I'm saying? But when you actually get into the book and how, what it's talking about and how it actually helps men out, you know what I mean, then it's when you get to the real nitty-gritty of what the whole thing is about. And also I wanted to comment on you saying that the thing about rape, and this has nothing to do with rape. I don't even understand how that even got into the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, the man having sex with 2 women a day and jumping into rape. And this is another thing that I think it's kind of, weird that, when we're talking about sex and we're thinking of the negative, it's just another negative thing that's, being thrown out there when it comes to, especially men, expressing their sexuality. Because, nowadays in society, we don't have this, we have this thing where, like, men are, looked down upon for being themselves or being, expressing themselves how they want to express themselves,
Well, I can totally understand someone coaching males and females in regards to relationships. We need as much help about that as possible. It's just the title of this book that I have a problem with, because you say that I really want to help men, and so you're presenting a book that says this shows you how to sleep with 2 women in one day. And for a lot of women, that doesn't show to us that you're trying to help these men in regards to a relationship with them. And so where rape comes in, rape is not love, it's just sex. And so a lot of these men that were saying to you, well, we want you to show us how to write a book on sex and how to make love to women. Are these not just male predators that just want to stack up notches on their belt, which is something that
what is a male predator? Define that.
A male predator is someone that preys upon women that has no intention of having any kind of relationship with them. You're just sleeping with them.
Wait. Stop right there. Why does a man have to have a relationship with a woman, committed relationship with a woman, if he does not feel like it at the time?
He does not have to, but if you are trying as a life coach, you always want to encourage a man men do better when they have an actual marriage life, a committed relationship. They live longer, they have less high blood pressure. There's all kinds of surveys on how well men do after they're actually in a committed relationship. Now, I can understand if you're talking to, like 18-year-olds to 24, they're not maybe interested in having a committed relationship at that time. They should be interested in school. They should be interested in getting a good job so that they can be able to have whatever woman they want. If a man makes enough money and he's doing very well, he will be the JV to her Beyonce. He'll find whatever woman he wants. He'll get lots of women that'll come chasing after him. But it doesn't sound, I don't know, I mean, are you encouraging that type of lifestyle for him to really better himself, or just showing him how to have sex?
No, this is the thing. I encourage men and women and whoever, wants to better themselves, I encourage them to figure themselves out. And what happens is when you have a lot of guys who, especially when they're young, they're at a point where they want to have sex with a lot of women. Let's just put it out there. They want to have sex with a lot of women. And the thing is that you were saying that, aren't you encouraging men to have relationships, come into relationships with women? Yes, I do encourage that if that is what they wanted to do. So sometimes a guy might be at a point in his life where he doesn't want to be committed to any woman. You understand what I'm saying? And if a guy is at a point where he wants to be committed to one woman or be in a committed relationship, then that's fine too. That's awesome.
Mr. Locario?
Yeah.
It looks like we have a caller. Caller, please address your question to myself or Mr. Locario or my co-host.
Well, this is Joe Neckborn. How you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I think what we have here is two different views. All right, this gentleman, his book is kind of like High Times magazine. High Times does not make people do drugs. High Times doesn't say, hey, doing drugs is wonderful. High Times says if you are going to do drugs, here's how to find quality drugs and here's what to do with them. So you have to think of it this way. There are people that are going to have sex with 2 and 3 women a day if that's what they choose to do, whether this book is out there or not. All right, it's been going on forever since human beings have been on the planet. These same people are not going to be the same people that are looking for marriage and committed relationships. They're going to do their thing their way. And he's just saying, if you're going to choose this path, here's how to do this path correctly. And that's all it is. You can't try and fit everybody into the atomic family mold. It just doesn't work.
I agree with that.
Well, I think that the title itself, I mean, the first time I read it, I definitely was intrigued to read it. Even as I still look at some of the pages now, it tells me more of, how to have sex with 2 women a day. I still haven't really figured out if I was a guy, how I would do that. And I do see a lot of different tips on mostly just how to present yourself, how to go out and meet some people, and hopefully just be blessed that one of them want to talk to you, really. You know how I know it's a coin toss, but I know it's hard. Rejection is hard. But I don't think that the answer is to lead with, trying to lay 2 women, for the day, and you're a true stud. Go out there and get yours. I just think that there's enough of, that kind of behavior that's already out there. I just think that we need to promote some different stuff. But I think it's catchy. I definitely think it's catchy. I would definitely think that a man would see it, or a guy, maybe a boy even, a younger guy would see it. Because I think like a grown man, a grown man is he feels way too secure within him in his manhood to even need something, like that.
But that's not what it's about. See, that's the thing. It's like saying that a grown man is going to feel secure in his manhood is basically saying that, well, if a younger dude is not secure with his manhood, which is why he would want to have sex with 2 women. He's
not fully developed yet, and I think that the media see, young women and young men to help them to kind of foster this.
You have women that are the same way. They can have sex with men. They're out there looking to have sex with men, 2 guys a day. It's not just men. It's men and women. But with that type of behavior, what it leads to, when do you put the brakes on? So do you tell the man in the book, after you've had sex with 2 women in one day, you've hit your goal. Hey, that's it. Or how do you stop? Once the cat is out of the bag, how do you put the cat back in the bag? How do you rein that back in so that all of a sudden now his behavior becomes more sensitive to her relationship because he's reading the book? Is he reading the book or no? He's out there feeling sex. Now he's having sex with these different women. He's not necessarily having connections with them. He's not thinking about your book. He's just thinking about how much he can get.
But again, you're missing the point. Yeah, you're missing the point. Yeah, the point is not to follow or to fit into the mold that you're prescribing. The point is this is what people are going to do. And so if they're going to do it, here's this book to tell you how to do it safely. You're still trying to shoehorn them into your mold, and it doesn't work like that.
And the thing with my book and everything that I teach, I have a slogan where I say it's called "The Truth Is Inside You," and basically what that means is that what your truth is your truth. So if you feel like, if you're the type of dude who says, hey, look, I don't want a relationship, I just want to have sex with this girl and that girl, then it's okay. If you could be the type of dude that says, hey, I only want to be with one girl and I'm going to get married to her, and that's okay. So this book is for those people who says, hey, I want to learn how to have sex with a number of different girls. You know what I'm saying? So it's not anything like, oh, this person's wrong and this person's right. It's about what is right for you. You understand? So in that same guy who says, hey, I just want to have sex with a whole bunch of girls, maybe in a couple of years he might say, hey, I want to be with just one woman. And then you could have a guy right now with just one girl, and then a couple of years later he's like, hey, I want to, go out and have sex with a whole bunch of girls. It depends on the person and where they're at and what they want to do. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to teach out there.
Okay, so is it realistic? I mean, I'm reading some of it. I think is not bad. I think it's actually a decent tool. I don't know how sincere this particular statement is. It's pretty simple. If you can make a woman feel these positive emotions, so I guess to get a woman to feel positive emotions, she will attach that positive feeling to you and end up liking you. So is that a statement that's honest and true, or is it kind of like a trick? Like if you can trigger
it. It's not about a trick. It's because, see, a lot of times, they have these guys, they call them pickup artists. I don't consider myself a pickup artist, but a lot of pickup artists, they sort of try to trick women in certain regards. Like they'll say, make fun of her so she'll get upset, and then she'll be, a whole bunch of goofy stuff. You understand? But the thing is that what I'm talking about is when you're having a conversation with a woman, and you are keeping it light, you're keeping it fun, and you're having a positive interaction with that person. And that just doesn't even go for women, but just people in general. When you're being positive to another person, it makes them like you more, and knowing that you're bringing that positive energy. So if you're actually, and on top of that, you want to be with a girl or, have a relation with a girl who is positive. You understand? So it's like you bring in that positive energy. If she is receptive to that and she starts to like you from it, then that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So that's what I talk about when I'm, in my chapter when I'm talking about approaching women and, having that energy when you're having those conversations. So it's about a trick. It's the book is basically like just explaining somewhat of like the psychology that goes behind, what you're doing and how things are going when you're actually trying to do what you're doing, Well,
how are you going to feel? Because it's like you're writing without a social conscience. You're like, if people are going to we were using the example of people are going to go out there and get high, let me show you how to do it. As opposed to let the person let's look at a broader scope, because you have more than just your regular average guy reading these books. How are you going to feel after a guy has read your book on how to go to sleep with two girls at one time, and he's out there and he's going after the teens? I mean, he's going after 17, 16, 15-year-olds, pedophiles. Wait.
This is. I gotta stop you there for a second. Why do you connect what we're talking about to something else? What does that have to do with my book? If a guy goes and has sex with a 16-year-old, that's him doing some statutory rape stuff.
Your book is directed to the public. That's anybody. That's everybody.
Okay, but show me in my book.
Like that, wait. Guys that are in jail are gonna I want to pick up a book like that.
Well, show me in my book. Wait. Show me in my book where I say have sex with 16-year-olds and I will quit. Show me in my book where it says have sex with 16-year-olds and I will quit today. I promise you.
Right. I don't think what she's saying is that. And I too am a writer. I can appreciate that it takes a lot of people want to write and a lot of people have to write. And I think that's the difference between writers and people who think that they, want to write something. So it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot to sit down and put thought to paper. So I can appreciate that. But what she's saying is that when we do write, that we should be socially aware, because it's not just you or me or, maybe a 25-year-old or the same person that will read it, but because it's out there, that a man who might not be completely all the way together, he might not be completely glued. And
I know, but that has nothing to do with me. That's like if someone wrote a book about how to chop up vegetables with Ginsu knives, and then I read it, and then I go stab 20 people. You're going to blame the person who wrote the book on chopping vegetables? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're basically saying. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. You're connecting something that's not really needed, that doesn't need to be connected. Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand. So closing the deal is the point where you wrap up the conversation and start working towards having sex with the woman. So how can you elaborate a little bit from your book on that, around that statement?
Yeah, closing the deal, it's like two different ways. Like, closing the deal can be when you're just talking to a female and you're exchanging numbers, or when you're actually in a situation of about to have sex with a woman. But, in the book I talk about a lot about, like, getting girls' numbers or giving girls your number and how to effectively do that, because a lot of times guys, since, they'll be kind of, a little insecure, they'll be not sure of themselves, so they're not sure if they're, confident enough to really tell a girl, hey, give me your number so I can contact you again, or, take my number so we can get together. So I just teach them how to do it in, certain ways that'll make it easier for them to make it happen,
To make it happen. Yeah. Okay. So you just keep on working on that particular female until she submits.
No. I mean, you ask her. You say, hey, give me your number, and if she says no, then you can go on to the next girl. But it's just about you learning how to make it a habit of you telling girls to give you the number, or you giving them your number, telling them to call you. So it's basically just getting guys in a certain mind frame. You know what I mean? To be able to make that become part of their life, part of their dating life.
I would like to know what the caller, what do you do? And, how do you feel about what he has to say about closing the deal, about making the deal to get the sex?
Well, my thing is this, all right? And again, I'm going to go back to people are going to do these things anyway, all right? So he's just in the business of making a buck off it. I mean, at the end of the day, and he has a controversial title to draw people in. But what I have a problem with, though, is the connection between this thing and deviant behavior. I hear this often. When somebody says something like, all right, you usually hear it in reference to swingers or something like that. People will say, well, you're a swinger. Oh, that means you're also a child molester and blah, blah, blah,
exactly.
blah. No, they're two separate things. You cannot connect what a person does to deviant behavior, because deviants are going to do what they're going to do, whether this book is out there or not. The jails are full of them, and so you cannot put them all in one basket and say, because I don't agree with these lifestyles, they're all evil, because people do that with gay folks all the time.
Exactly. So
true. Caller, I'd like to ask you: would you say that you are sexually promiscuous? Do you, engage in 2 to 5 possible women a week, or on rotation, or how does that work in a day? Even a day, how many women can we're getting in there?
Well, every man has his limits, and promiscuous is based on your own personal rule of measure. So, when I was younger, I was active. I had no problem with being active. I'm an old guy now. If I had 5 women a day, I'd be dead. Yeah, I'd be dead. Seriously. You can only eat so much food in a day. You can only drink so much water in a day. You can only have so many women in a day. So you find your limit. Like, all right, let me put it to you like this: the first time you went to a buffet, you tried to eat everything there. All right. You tried, I'm going to try everything there. The second time you went, you say, you know what, I just like this thing and this thing. It didn't matter how much was there. So you find your level, you stay at your level, and you enjoy your level.
Okay. That's like the perfect example of what I'm talking about. That is the perfect example, because even with I'm not saying that you're gonna, every day you wake up, you're gonna go out there and have sex with 2 women a day. What I'm saying is that you'll have the option to, if you want to, if you have the energy to do that. If you're that, the type of guy that wants to do that, and like, the gentleman was saying that, he's a little bit older, and usually guys who are older, You know what I'm saying? And that's done that when they were younger. They're kind of chilled at when they're a little older. You understand what I'm saying? Like even myself, I'm 31 years old, and I started dating when I was like 13, 14. You know what I'm saying? So like right now, I've been with my girl for like almost 7 years, and I'm different now than I was when I was like 21. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a whole different thing, and it depends on the person.
Okay. So, caller, would you like advice from Mr. Locario on how you may be able to get back in the game with getting 2 women a day, possibly?
Again, I'm an old guy. I'm 51 years old, all right? I have no reason on the planet to have 2 women a day. I really honestly don't. If I was 21, maybe. But I'm 51 now. I enjoy a quiet, peaceful life. I can't take the drama of 2 women a day. I can't take the drama of 1 woman, much less 2 or 3, all right? I got a head full of gray hairs off of ex-wife and the concept of having two women screaming at me and burning up 3 or 4 hours on the phone. No, that's scary.
Oh, no, you can't. You don't do that.
I think it's difficult enough keeping 1 woman happy, much less having 2 women possibly come and slash your car, or whatever. Because this is how women are.
You don't deal with those girls.
Oh, you don't deal with women like that. Yeah.
You don't think so? Well, I think that maybe even whether it be in the city of Chicago or Virginia or any place, that if you can take the most sane woman and turn her into a nut.
A lot of those women turn into nuts because guys lie to them. You understand? And I tell the dudes, like, don't, just be honest. Let a girl know like what you're doing.
Or maybe you're sleeping with 2 women in one day, so they're kind of when that. I'm speaking on the behalf of the girl, and if a girl looks at a guy that's 31 years old and she's got stars in her eyes and she's not necessarily trying to sleep with him, she's trying to get to know him. But you, the person that's between 18 and 31 or whatever, they're trying to just sleep with someone. There are feelings that are going to come up in regards to this young lady, and those are not good feelings when the guy's like, well, I just wanted to sleep with her anyway, and I'm choosing between 2 girls, and you're sleeping with 2 girls in one day, so you're not getting a lot of quality time to either woman. And I'm saying what you're propagating, like this guy, like our caller said, when he's at 51, he's a lot wiser, and he's like, I have no intention of having 2 women at 51. He became wiser, but I believe that even in your 20s, you can be wise with your time.
Whoa,
and I
whoa.
spend time with girl.
Hold on. So you're doing it again, I think. You're trying to say that, it's unwise to date around and have sex with 2 women a day by saying that, doing the contract, but it's not really about that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, like, most of these girls get hurt and they get all upset when they flash guys' cars and bust open they windows and stuff, is because they catch feelings because there's a lot of guys who lie to these women and tell them, hey, baby, you're my only one and I just want to do this with you and blah, 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 blah. So they get that in their head. You understand?
So what you're saying is you tell her the truth and you tell her, oh, I'm sleeping with another girl later tonight. Then she's not going to be hurt by that. What's going to happen is she wouldn't sleep with you the first time. If you told her the truth, what you intended to do, and your true intentions, you would not have an audience. Not a female
Don't believe that.
No.
Don't believe that.
Don't believe. There's so many women. Trust me. There's so many women who, if they like you and they're down, they're going to do it. And there's going to be a lot of women who don't do it. And the ones that don't do it, that's awesome too, because the ones that don't do it are probably going to be the ones who are going to be drama. Do you understand what I'm saying?
If she's doing it, she's trying to knock you back. She's trying to get you to be with her, because that's the reason why she decided to lay down with you, unless she's into, because there are women that are into 2s and 3s and they're female predators. But if this is a normal woman, she's interested in a relationship. Sex doesn't mean the same for a woman.
I would agree with that.
You're doing it again. You did it again, though. You said if she's normal, then she's going to want this, and if she has sex a lot, she's a predator. It's going back to that whole, thing from before. You know what I mean? It's not about that. The thing is, you're going to have, I'm not saying you're going to have people who are going to have sex with you and going to catch feelings no matter what. You understand? But generally speaking, if you tell a girl, hey, this is all I'm interested in, and you act accordingly, because a lot of guys, what they do is, and which is a lot of women get catch feelings, is that they'll sleep with the girl and then they'll have her, like, spend the night and cook her breakfast and rub her feet and all this other nonsense. You understand what I'm saying? So if you are telling women, hey, this is what I'm into, I'm actually seeing another woman, a lot of women, they'll that actually go for that. They're going to be at a different type of mindset or mind frame to be able to handle that type of guy. You understand? They're going to accept the fact, hey, I'm probably never going to see this guy again, or accept the fact that, hey, we're just going to have a sexual relationship. Even if they do get emotional, most of those women are not going to take it to the point where they're going to, like, go crazy. Most they're going to do is say, hey, look, I'm really feeling you, and unless we, take it to the next stage, I'm going to leave. You understand? And the thing is that you kind of see what type of girl you're dealing with while you're having these interactions with these girls. You understand what I'm saying? And I also talk about that in my book and in my videos and my other articles that I talk about, So it's like a whole thing that I'm teaching these guys how to do it so that they actually don't get their, their tires slashed and all that.
There's a movie that's called No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher. And in that movie, Ashton Kutcher says to just a guy on the street, hey, I'm just having sex with her. We're not, it's just sex. We're friends, and it's just sex. And the guy says back to him, I'm sorry, man, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. So what you're propagating, you're saying, well, there's guys that go, they're going to do it, and they're going to go in and they're going to sleep with women, so I'm going to show you how to do it right. You're still saying, as a 31-year-old, though, that you want a guy to try sleeping with two girls in one day, but at 31, you're like, well, I'm in a steady relationship myself. And did you learn that by going out with sleeping with two women in one day? Is that what you think brought you to a nice relationship with
the woman? That's exactly how I learned it. That's exactly how I learned it. The thing is, a lot of guys, they're, this is what happens typically in a lot of relationships. Guy meets a girl, probably in high school or college, and he feels he's lucky enough to have her, but he hasn't explored anything. So he's been with this one girl for like 3, 4, 5 years. Next thing you know, he cheats on her because he had the urge because some other girl thought he was cute and he never experienced that. Now, let's do that versus a guy who's actually been out there, dated a whole bunch of girls, and now he's like, I've been there, done that. I don't really need it. You understand? A guy, he's always going to feel like he needs to do it if he has never done it. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why the book is trying to get guys to do it early. So when he's the age of, like, my dude on the other caller or myself or whatever, if they decide to actually stick with one girl, it's usually the type of girl that they really wanted to pick. You understand? Because they have the skills to get any woman they want. You understand? And then also they're better equipped to have a committed relationship, and stick with her. Most men cheat because they have that feeling of, well, I never, had the chance to be with women like that. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why, I'm trying to get it to that point,
But your book is not called How Do You Talk to Several Women at One Time, and have a really good conversation and walk away with the prize. Your book says how to sleep with two women in one day. So you're appearing like you're a nice guy, but you're not a nice guy.
What's not nice about having sex? What's wrong about having sex? What's wrong with having sex?
There's nothing wrong with sexual intercourse. It's the way that it's presented. It's sleazy. It sounds bad.
How is it sleazy?
It doesn't sound classy.
No, this is what
I'm going to have sex with two women today. Hi,
this is the mistake you ladies are having. This is the mistake. This is a mistake you ladies are making, and I think a lot of ladies kind of make this mistake too, is thinking that guys think like y'all. You understand? Because I totally understand where y'all are coming from, but as a man, we want to have sex with this girl and that girl. You understand? Like, we want to,
as a younger woman, I wanted to have sex with multiple men. As a younger woman, I grew out of that very young. You don't have to spend. I didn't have to sleep with two men in one day to know this isn't really good. Don't tell me that women are much smarter than men. I understand that men have the desire to procreate, but having two women in one day is the wrong message to a young guy.
Why is it wrong?
Yeah.
Why is it wrong?
So it quote from your book. So it doesn't matter if the woman is attractive either. It says that you should even talk to the unattractive women.
Say that again?
it says don't just ask women that you're attracted to. You should talk to the women that are unattractive as well.
No, I said that, and when I'm talking about having practice talking to women. So a lot of guys, they're scared to approach women, and the reason why is that they wait for that one really hot girl they think is really cute or whatever, and then they be like, oh, I want to go talk to her, but they haven't had any practice talking to women, so they still have that anxiety. So in the book, I talk about when you are first learning how to approach women and getting over that anxiety, you have to talk to every chick.
You probably go for the dogs first, because the dogs are going to be easy.
No, not really. I mean, it's just like, in the mind of most men, they think that. So I say, talk to anybody,
I get it. Okay. Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, me myself, I try to aim high. I mean, I don't know, girls, what do you think? I mean,
No, of course, you have to always aim high. You have to always aim high. But what I'm talking about when you see, this is another thing. Like, women will never understand this because this is not your reality in most cases. But men, we have to. If we want to have a girlfriend or have sex, we have to go out there and talk to you. So there's times when we have to practice it. You understand? So that's where all that comes from. So it's not about just aiming high. It's about you yourself working on yourself, because us going up to talk to a whole bunch of different girls, and sometimes it has really like nothing to do specifically with the girl. It has to do with us getting over our fear, us getting over our insecurity. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what that's about, and that's what a book is about. The book is for men to teach them how to, tap into what they really want to do and figure themselves out. You understand? So this is why, and ladies, trust me, I understand where you guys are coming from, so I don't want you to think like, but I think what it is that you guys are coming from a female perspective, and we're trying to tell you, like, this is a male perspective. You understand what I'm saying? And I totally am against, like, manipulation and all the negative nonsense. And this is why in my book I say, you have to be honest and open about what you're doing,
Correct.
So.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I just know that most guys, the first thing they would think about, they were like, this is going to help me get some chicks quick and fast because that's what I'm into. Yeah, and there are a lot of guys they have no self-conscious. They have no self-conscious. They're trying to get in. They want to get in, And, if you were writing a book,
there's nothing wrong with getting in.
There's
nothing wrong with it. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with just getting in.
It's nothing,
So with you saying that again, in these days and times, there is something wrong with just getting it nowadays, because what you get, you tell one guy, and this could happen, and you're an author. This could happen to you tomorrow. Somebody could read your book tomorrow, and he sleeps with two women, and because, unless you're really telling this guy the warnings in regards to HPV virus, which is a virus that you get just from heavy petting. We're not even talking about oral sex. We're not even talking about intercourse. We're talking about you just touching the girl's breast, and that man or that woman, they're transmitting these sexual diseases. That's that HPV virus that's out now in the year 2012. So it's not, this is not like a gonorrhea where a man can just put a jimmy on it and cover it up. This is something that is more serious that's out there now. So if you have a young guy that's listening to what you say, and let's just say in 6 months, he's done it maybe 20, 25 times. And the HPV virus is out there. It's not socially responsible in these days and times, because it's a little bit more dangerous than it was 25 years ago.
So wait, answer me this question. That same guy who would have bought my book and read it, if he would have never bought my book, do you think he would have ever had sex in his life?
We're not talking about sex every one time, a virgin.
No, I'm just saying, but would he have had
Your
sex,
book says 2 women in 1 day. So
would he have had sex with more than one woman ever in his life? You assuming? Would you assume?
Yes, I'm going to assume that. Correct.
If he's having sex with more than one woman, in his life, and he's never read my book, what would be the difference? And he catches something, right? What would be the difference? You still got to talk about personal responsibility. Do you understand what I'm saying? The person who reads my book, I'm assuming it's not like they never heard of sex before. Like they read my book and said, oh, this is what sex is. Let me try this out. And, it's not guys understand these things, that there can be risks to having sex. And you have to protect yourself and understand what it is that's going to happen. So I agree with you that these things happen, but it's still up to personal responsibility. You understand what I'm saying? So they got to understand what goes into that, too. And in my book, I talk about, protecting yourself, making sure you don't get girls pregnant, this and this and that. I go over that stuff. But if a person wants to get more deep into it, then, it's up to them to research those things. You understand what I'm saying?
It's going to be a segment of the population that's going to get it. There's going to be a large segment of the population that's not. And, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about your choice and personal responsibility. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's hard for certain people to like grasp it because a lot of people are kind of conditioned to think a certain way or one way is the right way all the time. You know what I mean? And people are different. People live different lifestyles. People have different desires. And I always feel like as long as you are comfortable with yourself, if you're not hurting anybody else, and hopefully you're not hurting yourself, do what you feel is right for you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it's about.
Okay, we have a caller on. Please go ahead and ask your question. We have a new caller on. Welcome to the Dating Factor. Go ahead and ask your question to Mr. Locario.
Mr. Locario, I have a question. What responsibility do you have, as a man because I didn't catch it if you're a father or not. Are you?
Oh, no, I don't have any kids.
Yeah, but if you have a daughter, what do you think your responsibility is when she gets old enough to realize that you've written this book on how to do this? Is this the way that you would want her to accept men or that she be a part of this,
Oh, of course. I want her to read the book, and I would love for her to accept men as they are, as the truth. And I actually had a conversation with a guy he's a father, and he has 2 daughters, and he was telling me, he was like, look, I tell my daughters exactly how men are. He was like how a lot of men, they have this idea where they try to protect their daughters from these guys, and like these guys are like, oh, they're gonna corrupt my daughter. But it's like, no, listen, teach your daughters the reality of the situation, because once you know certain things, you're not going to be naive. You're not going to be susceptible to nonsense. A lot of these women get hurt because they're living in a lie. You understand what I'm saying? And they're not really seeing what the reality is of the situation. You understand? Yeah, so it's like the more you know about it, the better off you are.
Yeah, but, the problem that I guess I really have with this is that you're not talking about a greater number. This is a small majority of people, don't you think?
A small majority of people that what?
A small majority of men that subscribe to what you believe. Are you saying that this is a greater number?
It's a large majority. It's it's funny because I wouldn't, like I said earlier, the reason why I wrote this book was because most of this, because I coach men and women, and I would say at least 90-some% of the guys who email me, their question was, how do I have more sex with more women? It was something like that. I've even had, guys who were married that would email me and ask me that. And, I had to, have a conversation with them, look, you're married, you got to really, you know what I'm saying, ask yourself some questions before you think about doing certain things. So this is the reason why it seems like it's a small percentage is because most people are not honest with themselves in society. And, you look at movies like No Strings Attached, which are geared and targeted for women, so they're going to steer it in a certain way to present a certain type of image. But the reality of the situation is that there are so many guys out there who want to do these things, who are trying to do these things, who have a desire to do it, but either feel like they're not supposed to, feel like they're wrong. They keep hearing that they're predators. They keep hearing that you're wrong if you want to, look at a woman in a sexual manner. So that's what happens nowadays. No,
but I mean, you know what? I think anybody can have sex with as much or as often as they like. It's just that if you become discriminating, then your options become few and far between. But what happened is they become more fulfilling.
So yeah, I agree. But how do you get to that point?
But on the same token, when you're not discriminating, they always say that that somebody with the lowest standards has the greatest options because your standards are low. So yeah, you can have more sex, but I also think that if you set your standards low, you can have sex every day with anybody.
But how are you going to find the best?
Well, how do you define the best?
No, how are you going to find the best? That's my question.
Well, but I don't know if the best person for you, finding the best person for you is what you're asking, or the best what?
in general, like because you're saying that if you have low standards, then you're gonna have more options because you're just going out there talking to this person and that person, and so it's obviously saying that if you have high standards, you're narrowing down the circle to get a better quality person, right? In order for you to
here's the deal. I would rather save up all of my time, let me put it this way. I would rather save my money to buy the car that I want than just opt to just buy a bunch of cars that I can go through over the same amount of time. So you're either gonna buy something that's gonna be built to last, or you're gonna find somebody that just is there for the moment. And that's the reality.
How did you get the money to buy the car?
Well, you work and save, but wait. How did you get the job? You went on job interviews, right? Well, but what? Let me tell you why you asking that question is applicable. But I'll answer your question. I think I can make a decision by what I want by asking the right question and getting the right answer before I ever have to test drive the vehicle, because I know more about it before I make a decision that I even like that kind of model. Because at the end of the day, I have to decide on what I want. But if I'm just open to anything, then at that point, everything is part of my, of my bandwidth. But if I know, I don't have to test drive everything to determine that I like that type of car or that type of model.
So what I'm saying is that how are you going to get the skill to get the car that you want? How are you going to get the skill to get the job, to get the money to get the car?
What? You're defining skill as something that's unique. At the end of the day, chemistry isn't skill. It's something that you either have or you don't have with somebody.
And how are you going to? This is what I'm saying here. Trust me. I see exactly what you're saying. My question is, how do you get there? How do you get there?
That's a great question. You get there by socialization. You get there because the time is. Well, let me finish. How you get there is that you have conversations, you have dates. Everything is a build up to something. But at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily end in sex, because fulfillment at 17, 18, and 20, and 30 could be just that. But if that's all that you're looking for, they'll never last. I'm talking.
So what you're telling me? Hold on, wait. So what you're telling me is that when you interact with women, you're just interacting with them just to talk, and that's it?
I don't necessarily think that's it, but it is a part of anything else. It's no different than when you go for a job interview. There is some kind of interaction that they have a job, you have skills. You're looking for something. They want something. At the end of the day, you just don't show up today and say, it's okay, I'll just take anybody. Because if that's the case, then the business doesn't work. Because all of a sudden there's no standard. Because
I like to interrupt. Caller, you are awesome. We love you. And thank you so much, Mr. Locario. Also, but I want to go back to the social issue of, for example, we have to look at the fact that, babies are being born out here as well. So while you're practicing and, doing some trial and error with some different women, multiple women, we have to say, what are the odds that some of those will get pregnant, that the condom breaks? And after that,
it's not as easy to get pregnant as people think.
Measure and have you given direction.
It's not as easy to get pregnant as people think. This is the misconception. It's not. A lot of people who get pregnant, they're having sex unprotected and they're being careless. You understand what I'm saying? Myself, I've had a lot of sex, no pregnancies. I have friends who've had more sex, 3 times as much sex as I had, no kids. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not about just the sex. It's about the people are doing it incorrectly.
And you have had lots of sex, right?
Lots.
You're saying, though, that your book, again, is How to Sleep with 2 Women in One Day. And if a man does this, what are the odds of, even though he practices correct sex, sex correctly, we are still talking about young men. Now, there are some women that are out there that'll put pin pricks inside of the condom. Now, don't tell me that this guy that's trying to sleep with 2 women in one day, that he's aware of that.
That's why you always use your own
condom. Let me just finish. You just hand him a condom that happens to have pinpricks in it because she wants to have a baby. She wants a baby daddy. She wants that man, maybe he has a great job, and so she wants him to take care of her baby, and she's setting it up. And not only is it, you're saying a lot of women,
this man should sleep with a lot of women. So what are the odds that you might run into one of these women? I'm going to say the odds are a lot higher than if you took the high road and looked for somebody in a quality relationship.
You do not take condoms from women. I talk about that in my books. And
you don't, but other men do when they're in the heat of the passion and the condom is there. They're going to take whatever condom is there. I'm sorry.
Whose fault is that? That's their fault.
You know what? Let me just say this, and this is my thing. I kind of agree with him. You don't do that, but on the same token as this, the condom in the pregnancy and STD part, that's important. But what's really more important is the fact is that you made a decision to sleep around with multiple people, which is unsafe as it is. So with that being said, whether a baby is conceived, STDs or not, who wants to be with a person who's rotted out? Nobody wants to be with somebody that's been
who's what? A person who's what?
I call it rotted out. Nobody wants to be with someone that. It just means that there's a woman that's sleeping around with everybody. There's a guy that's sleeping around. Because let me tell you, the chick that's you're
just like what they were saying earlier. You're making it a negative thing. Why is sleeping around with different people negative?
You know why? Because here's my reason. Because at the end of the day, it depends on what you're looking at. And you know what? It may not be a negative stigma to those whose standards are low. Because I don't want to be with someone who's dating somebody else.
Again, you're doing it again. Why does that mean that if your standards are low, that means that you're you sleep with a bunch of people?
No, because here's the thing. I respect what you have to say, but you also have to respect that that's just not how I feel. Now, we could be different. Now, do I agree with those who do it? No. But is that something that I practice? No. But on the same token, everybody's adult. They can do whatever they want. But I don't necessarily agree with it. Now, it's negative because
you don't practice what you preach. You don't do what your book said. You already said you're in a committed relationship with somebody for 7 years. So you're teaching somebody how, don't be in a committed relationship. This is going to bring you to a committed relationship. That's you. I'm saying other people, it doesn't translate that way. They don't. It does. We're talking about human emotions, and emotions are all over the map. All types of things happen when you're talking about emotions, not just you and how you feel. You're like, okay, well, I know how to mac women, and so I know how to sleep with two women in one day. So I graduated, and now I'm in a nice relationship. Everybody doesn't operate that way, and there are so many different
This is what I'm trying to explain to you. You saying it as if I'm saying that the only thing that I wrote my book for was to try to get you to have a committed relationship with one person out of doing that. What I'm saying is that can be a byproduct of that. But I'm not saying that that's all it is. So if you decide to do that, then that's great, and it's a good indicator that will help you do that and lead you in that way if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. The byproduct is also going to be children, babies out of wedlock, unborn.
That's because people are doing it incorrectly.
Also, STDs. These are all byproducts that I don't know. I'm not sure, but have you really addressed this in the book? I know you didn't address it in your title.
But those are not byproducts of his book. Those are byproducts of society.
One at a time, so we can clearly, so we can make sure we can get some substantial information for the other listeners who aren't on with us.
You guys are adding so much stuff on top of everything.
All I want to say is this, and then I'm done. At the end of the day, you could have written a book about pimping. Now, there are those who subscribe to that, about being a pimp. Okay, and if that's what you believe, and there's an audience for what you do, and I'm sure there's an audience for every guy who wants to be a pimp and all that other stuff, or women, there's an audience for it. I just don't subscribe to it, but I also don't think that it leads to something that is substantial. Whether that is a relationship, that is something that's gainful and bona fide. Because there's no love in anything that has to do with multiple people in the same day. How many
times have you had sex with multiple women in a day?
Never.
Never? So how do you know that it doesn't lead to anything substantial in your life?
But I don't think that it's something that is needed.
No. Let me ask the question. Here's the reason why. Because at the end of the day, you can't give enough to one person or to two people individually to gain something with one that is substantial. You have to be able to focus on something. No. But you know what? Let me just throw it this way. If you haven't tried the latter and you believe that the only thing that you know is what you know, then you don't know that what I'm saying is the right way. Because you believe
okay, let me be a little transparent. Let me interrupt for just a second.
There is no right way. It's about what you want to do. That's it.
I wanted to be just a little transparent. I'm a female that has made love to men, 2 men in one day in my past. I'm a female, and I can tell you for a fact, it was just all about control. That's what it was all about. I felt like, well, oh, what the heck? Let me see if I can sleep with another guy in one day. And it was easy. I did it. That's a female Mac. But I learned in my 20s that this was not something that somebody should subscribe to. We're not talking about emotions and relations. I felt the fun. I felt the sex of having 2 men. It was about power and control. It was not about having an adult relationship.
There's a power and control for who?
For me, I felt power and control.
For you.
I could have those 2 men in one day. That's what the book is describing to. So your example was, you asked him, well, if you've never done it, you don't know what it's like. I'm telling you, I'm a female and I've done it.
No, I'm saying he doesn't know what it's like for him.
It was just power and control that day. Let me tell you, I'm trying to be transparent. I was mad at the guy that I was with earlier that day. So I said, hey, no problem. I'm going to sleep with someone else. It was about power and control. It was not about a quality relationship. It didn't bring anything to the table. It was a learning lesson for me. And it's going to be a learning lesson for a lot of men. It does not bring quality to your life. You don't get growth out of that.
How do you know as a man? You said as a man, you were never a man. You can't explain. That's what I'm trying to say. For you, it was about power control because you just said you were having sex with another guy because you were upset at some other guy. So you were only having sex for revenge in that situation, which a lot of women do. They did studies on this. So what I'm saying is that for you, that situation had something else to do with it. And like I was saying to the gentleman, I was saying that
it's still about power. Whether it's still power. You're saying this guy is with 2 girls, so he's feeling powerful. He's feeling like I'm the man. I've got it all going on. And I'm saying that's what you're saying. Oh, it's about power. It's not about love. No. You're not talking about love and growth and a person. And you're saying what you're prescribing is the guys that I'm talking to, this is all they want. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that because you feed people trash, that's all. If you feed people trash, that's what they're going to end up eating. But you could eat some quality food. And I believe that we have a social conscience. We should be conscious of that. If you're telling a man to sleep with two women in one day, that one woman might also be sleeping with other women. That one woman may also be sleeping. I'm saying that we're not only talking about a man sleeping with a woman. We don't know who her sexual partners were in the past. We also don't know whether or not at the time we're having protected sex. I don't believe if you're having all these multiple partners, you're having safe and protected sex.
Right. Let me just jump in real quick. All right. When Elin Harris first came out and wrote his books, he was really controversial. But you have to put it in the same context. Elin Harris's books didn't make anybody gay. Elin Harris's books didn't give you a blueprint for how to have, same-sex trysts or relationships. All he did was tell stories based on his experiences and his choices. So, you have to put it in that same context. The author is telling you stories from his context and his point of view. You can't connect it to any other thing. You can't look at it and say, well, because I don't agree with it, it's immoral. He's telling you from his experiences.
I agree with you. I don't think that it's immoral. It's just not my way. And I don't think
that's cool.
And that's okay. And all. Now, what you do is whatever. But I think, but here's the sad thing about it. There's probably a lot more people that believe that that's okay than not, and that's my view of that. It's not a good thing. Now, and trust me, I'm not going to say that that I'm not open to seeing things for what they are, and there's a gray area, and everything doesn't have to be black and white. But the realities of it is that if you really believe, and I'm not sure how old you are, but if you really believe that this is the way it should be, and you are definitely speaking that all of them, you can sell books to that. You know what? There's so many people in the world, and there's always going to be a buyer and taker for everything because there are people below standard. And if that's who this book is written for, it's great. But you know what? It's not written for that because that's the same people who sleep with 2 different women. This could be applicable to discrimination, sexual harassment, because most of the people that are in a power position that are working in the workplace are typically married, but they're, male, female, or they could have that same situation because whatever. I think what you're doing is teaching the society that how to do it, and I don't necessarily think that that's right. You can't write a book on how to make a bomb, and that's unfortunate because it is unfortunate.
So why can't you teach people how to make a bomb?
It's already been done.
What if there's people trapped in a building and someone needs to bomb this side of the building to get the people out?
Again,
no.
But what I'm saying to you is that I don't think that you teach people how to do things that are you know what? Let me go back and say this because before I paint myself in a corner, one of the things is that I think you can do whatever you want. There's always if you want to sell shit on a shingle and there's somebody that's going to buy it, there's nothing wrong. It's just not my appetite. It's just not a part of my diet, and that's okay.
Okay, and I agree with you. That's what I'm saying.
And if that's what you want to sell, it's cool. But you know what? That's it. So I guess I don't have anything to say. If they're biased for what you want, then you're good.
No, but see, it's not even about buyers for what I want. The thing is that people want what they want, and I provide something, and whatever that something is, there are people that desire that something. So it's not wrong for them to desire that something. It's just what they desire. So I'm providing that service for them. So it's working back and forth like that. You understand? So the thing is, I think that you're putting a judgment on what this thing is.
You know what?
You already keep saying, if you're lower standard and if you
wait a minute, hold on a second. No. All I'm saying is that if you're serving something that I don't like, I have an opinion about it, and I just said that that's just not for me. It doesn't mean that you can't sell it. I don't eat seafood, but for Shaw's Craft House and those who want it, that's great. They can have it. But that's just not for me. It doesn't mean that I boycott it or tell people don't go there either because everybody, it's about their own choices. And you're providing something out there that somebody likes because otherwise we wouldn't be talking to you today or you wouldn't be selling any books or you would never have written a book. So there's always that. There's enough people in this world. And you know what? It is fine. It just happens to be that your audience today, at least this group, is split on their positions on it. And it's okay.
I agree with you.
I do believe it's unethical. I think that today that the world is in a dating frenzy, and by dating frenzy, I mean that we have so many single people, so many lonely people, so many people who want to be with somebody.
Why they're lonely?
Wait, I'm not saying this. I haven't said I would like to talk with you. The Match.coms and the eHarmonies of the world are not rich for nothing. Okay, people want to be with somebody good. There are predators there as well on Black People Meets and all those places. But what I'm saying to you, as a writer, I believe that we have an opportunity here to say something worth listening to, and opposed to just saying something to say something. The world has lots and lots of things and minutia out there, and I think that we need to sell something that's positive and it's going to get us to the next level and opposed in the grave.
But you know what? I want to answer what you were saying. The reason why there's so many people who are lonely is because there's so many people who are not honest with themselves and they're not honest with other people. So this is why when people go out on dates and then they say, "Oh well, we're not clicking. I don't really like this person. I don't really like that person," because nobody's being honest with what they really want.
No, you know what? I don't.
Hold on.
I don't know
real quick.
I don't know where you get that from because you can't speak for everybody. You can speak for the people that you know.
That's what I'm saying. The reason why you think wait. The reason why you think that or you thought that there wasn't a big market for what I'm doing is because there aren't a lot of honest people, because all the people that you thought didn't exist email me every day. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason why they're emailing me is because when they saw me, they was like, damn, this guy is talking about what I wanted to talk about, but I was scared to because I'm living in a society that says that I'm immoral if I'm being myself. If I want to have sex with 2 women a day, something's wrong with me. I'm a predator. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why people hide and they do other little things.
I've read what you have, and, I want to say if a man really wanted to sleep with 2 women a day, he'd ask a woman.
He'd have what?
He would ask a woman because she could tell him. And if I wanted to tell a man how he could get me, which would be kind of difficult because it's not that easy.
You can't ask women for how to get you. They're not gonna. What do most women say? Women say, "Oh,
if I was
be
that
nice
kind
to
of woman."
And women say be nice to women. And what happens when guys are nice to women? Nothing. You understand what I'm saying? I don't tell guys.
Who said anything about being nice to women? I haven't given you any advice yet to take.
No, but that's what women say. That's the advice women give to men. They say be nice to her, roll out, buy her flowers, treat her with respect, do all this other. They say all these things, and then a guy does that. He's a nice guy, and the women say, well, he's too nice. I don't want him. You understand? So that's what asking.
I disagree with that. Because of the fact.
I disagree with that as well.
I disagree with that because at the end of the day, unless you're a caveman and you're gonna club some chick and then take her. I mean, again, if that's the kind of woman that you want to build something with, if it's somebody you just gonna take home from the club, a club rat, then I'm sure that that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's and I guess when you wrote this book, and I guess I have to ask this: when you wrote this book, was it meant to empower either party? And if
it was meant to empower men, yes.
Okay. Now, and the other side, at the end of it all, at the end of this empowerment, does it end with a happy story of physical fulfillment, or does it end with some kind of something committed and long term? Because at the end of the day, if you find someone that's okay.
No, you're going into specifics. You're going into specifics. The point of the book is to get what you want. That's it. If you see the book and if you're even thinking, damn, I want to know how.
That is male exploitation. That is exploitation.
What are you talking about?
Those are the movies that the KKK put out to have black people have big, huge lips and big butts, and that's what they're propagating. And it was true that we have big lips and that we have big thighs. Did it transmit the right message? No, and that's exploitation.
Explain what you're talking about. How is this male exploitation? If a guy wants to have sex with a number of different women...
It's sexploitation. Male sexploitation. You're exploiting males because males like to procreate and they want to have sex. You're like, well, have all the sex you want. This is the way to do it. But I'm saying in these days and times, that is a bad message.
How is that a bad message?
My question is this. Yeah. How is it any different than the Basketball Wives, which I think only one of them was actually a wife, and the rest were just girlfriends? They're selling the image that all you got to do is
that's a show that is exploitation. So let's bring our level of intelligence up a little bit. Let's not exploit one another's ability. Let's not exploit women for their emotionalism, and let's not exploit men because they have the desire to have sex. Let's bring it up a level. There's a reason why men and women were created, and we can really work together towards an end.
Wait, hold on, Anthony, is it wrong to live your life and go after what you desire? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that you are exploiting men's desire you're exploiting that young, because you're after the young men. You're not going after guys that are 51. The guy, they called earlier, said, oh, I'm 51 years old. I don't do that now. Right, and you said you're 31. You said, oh, I'm 31. I don't do that anymore. I'm in a committed relationship. So that means you're exploiting the young guys, young men, and you're giving them a message that can be very harmful for them. They can end up having babies out of wedlock that they don't want, and bringing more children into the world, and they can get sexual diseases from them having two women in one day. That's what I'm saying.
We talked about all this stuff you're talking about. Again, if you have some babies, you're doing it wrong. You're not protecting yourself. If you go on this other overboard stuff, it's because of something that you're not taking responsibility for. So you can't take one thing and that's like you blaming Entenmann's for people being obese. Like, oh, you guys keep making all these cupcakes and all these people are getting fat. Like that's not Entenmann's fault. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's when you're.
What I'm saying is, if you're not feeding them a balanced view of how a man actually creates that level with a woman in the future, because you're saying that. Are you saying that these are? Are you saying with the book that a man should, for the rest of his life, he should be happy, and this is what he wants to do if he wants to sleep with two women at one time? Or are you saying that he's going to graduate to something else?
That he
Right,
could. That's what I'm saying. He could.
Yeah.
But the book in itself is about this thing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's try another example.
Let me ask one question, though. Let me ask the author one question. With these two women you sleep with one day, do they both know about the fact that you're sleeping with multiple people?
Yes,
it's the same day
they do.
Okay, so you're always up. So you're okay with you sleeping with other women. Are you okay with them sleeping with other men at the same time?
Yeah, hell yeah. I don't care. That's not my. If you're not my girl, if we didn't have any discussion about us being together, then do what you do. That's what I'm saying. Like that's not anything.
That's an irresponsible behavior.
What you're saying also
Scandal
is that
and disease.
If there's no committed relationship, you're okay. You think that it's okay. Now, if you're in a committed relationship, is it okay for her to sleep with other people?
If you guys decide that you're going to be monogamous, no, it's not okay. If you guys say it's just me and you, that's the contract that you guys wrote up for your relationship, and of course it's not okay. If you say, hey, look, honey, we're together, but, you can do this, I can do that, then it's okay. It's about the people in the situation. This is what I'm trying to say with the book. It's about the person in the situation wanting that type of information. That's all I'm saying. For some reason, it's like you think that there's something
we have a caller on
that
has some sort of radio or something on. Can you turn it off? I think I can hear myself, actually.
Yeah, somebody has it on a computer. All right, let me illustrate it like this. The guy goes out and picks up a Playboy magazine. He's not looking for Forbes or Black Enterprise. He's looking for Playboy magazine. He's going to look at the pictures. He's going to read the articles. It's not going to make him any different than he is without reading the Playboy magazine. He buys it because it appeals to a certain part of his nature and a certain part of his personality. Exactly. And so his book is the same way. You're reading a lot into this. For somebody that's going to pick up a Playboy, they want to see naked pictures of women. They get what they want. Fine, they're happy. All right, it doesn't turn them into a deviant. It doesn't turn them into something else. They're not looking for a deep inspirational meaning. They're not looking for philosophy. They just want to see naked pictures of women. And that's all it is. His book is the same way. I'm not defending this guy. He has the right to say anything he wants to say, but I understand the corner that he's fighting out of. Don't read a lot into this. Take it for what it is. If you're going to be mad at his book, you got to be mad at Playboy. You got to be mad at Penthouse. You got to be mad at Hustler because it's all the same thing. It's all cut from the exact same cloth.
And it's all about what you want. That's all. That's what the thing I'm trying to get at. It's not about what you're saying is right or wrong, or what I'm saying is right or wrong. It's about what is it that makes you happy within your life. And if that is something that you desire, if that's something you want, then go get it. That's all. That's what it's about.
The book doesn't come with two women. You still got to go out there and say something to get them. And that's the whole point. These guys are going to do it anyway. If you're reading this book, you just want an edge, but you're going to do it anyway. Just like people read books about gambling. They just want an edge, but they're going to gamble anyway. So, is he wrong for doing this? I don't think so. He's making a buck like everybody else out here, like everybody else. But you just can't read a lot into it, I don't think.
So I want to say thank you to everybody as it turned into more of a debate. And I do want to thank Mr. Locario for joining us today and talking about it.
This is so much fun, seriously. I appreciate it.
Yes, I think I think that while your title is a little evasive and it might send a couple people off, I do believe that it did have some good points. Nonetheless, I want to say thank you, and I hope you'll join us again on The Dating Factor on Talk Radio. Thank you, and have a good night.
Good work, lady. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Be out later.
Later.
Hey, what's up? It's dating and life coach Mr. Locario. Go to badboymembership.com and master the dating game by joining my Bad Boy Membership program. In this program, you'll receive 45 to 90-minute, easy-to-follow, step-by-step dating advice tutorials that's guaranteed to help you attract, date, and have sex with beautiful women. Join the Bad Boy Membership today by going to badboymembership.com. That's badboymembership.com.